Yes.
You said you didn't have time to go into all the 4 areas. Could you give us a two-liner on religion?
Religion has, back in 1897, there was a weird group of people that got together and called themselves the Parliament of World Religions. And this group was Hindu and shamans and you name it. In 2002, the United Nations took it under its authority, and it was sponsored by the Vatican, and they had a conference in Chicago, and 12,000 people from all groups, National Council of Churches, the Worldwide Council of Churches. The last one was in Barcelona in 2014, had 104,000 people, and it included Rick Warren, Osteen, a whole bunch of other people. They are trying to feminize Christianity, trying to make it a, you've seen pastors and wife now being co-pastors. Show me in the Bible where that's permitted. It's not a lowering of a woman to not be the pastor. It is the roles God set up in the Word. These things are happening, and they're happening very quickly. And religion is buying into this with the Faith Life organization. That's the United Nations website. And every one of these denominations have signed on that my purpose on earth is to preserve the ecology. My purpose on earth is not that.
Is there a single source that you can trace as to where this philosophy is coming from? Because there has to be a lot of money that's driving this.
Oh yeah, in my first presentation on Agenda 21, I think it was 5 years ago, I had a chain of, starting with the Club of Rome. They were the first ones to ever use the term sustainability, and then it goes to the World Council on Ecology, and then it stems through all these things, and became under Maurice Strong, David Rockefeller, and Mikhail Gorbachev, Agenda 21. If you are a Christian, I can tell you this is going to upset you. When they wheeled in Agenda 21, they had 4 men carrying an ark on poles and marched in, and the Ark of Hope has earth, wind, fire, water, etc., pagan symbols all over it. And they opened it up, and Mikhail Gorbachev said, "This is the new covenant for all humanity for the 21st century," and got a standing ovation. The Ark of Hope is now taking a worldwide tour, and you can see people going up and praying and leaving things. They're worshiping it just as much as any other idol, but it's becoming the Ark of Hope, and I've got pictures in the back up here of it. But there's an amazing amount of data in there, and if you have a question, you can always fire it to me. I'm more than happy to show you anything that you need to see. Any other questions? Yes?
They talk about decreasing population by a huge amount. I read an article not long ago that said it's just the opposite problem. When people have fewer children, we're going to actually have a problem of not enough.
Worldwide, we are. We have 1.93% growth in the white Anglo-Saxon community. Muslims have 11.7. Latinos have 5.4. Other demographics are expanding incredibly, but I still don't believe that God gave us a planet that could be overrun.
I think they're talking out of both sides of their mouth, because on one hand, it's the Agenda 21 and 2030 wants to reduce, but they're still talking about that we don't have enough people to sustain America,
Right.
which is true. But the answer is still, I mean, they're still trying to reduce worldwide. And Africa, who's been about 20 years into Agenda 21, and you can see the devastation of the diseases and so forth that are killing people down there. And no matter how much aid and so forth that we send, it's not helping because they don't want it to reach the people. So fighting to get doctors in there and so on and so forth is always, there's always opposition for that.
Yeah, David Rockefeller clearly wants 300 million people worldwide. He feels that Zbigniew Brzezinski, I'm sure we can even pronounce it. Zbigniew came out and says it's easier today to kill 1 million people than it is to try to control it. And why would he say that? Because he was with David Rockmore.
Oh, that sounds like the Stalin, no man, no problem quote. You know? Dead people don't complain at you. But I want to ask you, what's the three states that are doing this UN pledge you mentioned?
Wisconsin, Michigan, and Illinois
Are doing what? Sorry, I
are
couldn't hear.
doing the world pledge in addition to, and sometimes.
Wisconsin,
in
Illinois,
extent-
what's it, the Michigan?
Madison, Wisconsin doesn't even do the American flag now.
I'm not surprised at any of them. Yeah.
Huh?
Aren't they Muslim?
Not totally, that's right outside of Madison, that is 100%, yeah.
Right.
So this is a wonderful presentation, and there's tons more information. In today's world of sound bites, how do we get someone to look for more information? Is there somewhere on a website that has a 2 or 3 minute teaser to get them curious?
Well, the document we sent out, Losing Your Freedoms in One Easy Lesson, is the document I created. And that document will give you basically a 3.5, 4 minute presentation that you can get. It has just enough information to scare the daylights out of us.
Something that's really disturbing. I sit in a church, several church groups, and it's not the world's most conservative church, but it's certainly not the world's most liberal church. And so I'm sitting there with groups of men, 8 men, 10 men, talking about people over 40, over 50 people sort of look like this room. And you try to bring something like this up, and you know, usually a quarter to a third of the room goes, no way, it's not happening, it's not relevant, and actually not just we don't know, but really if you're listening close, they're really saying, nah, I'm not for that, I'm not concerned, you're conservative nut, and. So, you know, I mean, when you get it, it would be a room that would look like this room. So, boy, you think it's a hard sell with that group, then try to sell it to anybody younger, different, liberal, comes from Austin like I do. It's really tough.
George Barna in 2015 did an evaluation. He said the greatest danger to the church in America today is personal safety. People are more interested in what's happening in their yard, in my yard only, and not in my backyard. If it's not out inside my walls or inside my yard barriers or anywhere near me, it's okay. But when it comes to NIBE, not in my backyard, then they start getting active in it. I watch it on the Planning and Zoning Commission for the city. I'm on that, and we get a lot of people in when it comes to NIBE issues, but we don't get anybody in for regular. Yes?
Well, maybe it's more like 30 years as a real estate developer in western Williamson County. I've seen planning and zoning departments, the staffs of planning and zoning departments evolve as they come out of the universities with more and more indoctrination, evolve to a very high level of being able to tell you what you can do with your property. But that's just the general statement that I'd like to emphasize. But in addition to that, with the staffs, city staffs, planning and zoning primarily, the boards, the TNC, the councils and the boards don't have a clue.
Oh, this board does.
Speaking. I apparently yours does because you're on it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I have experienced those. I mean, they're controlled really by the staff, and the appointed people who are substantially politically appointed on the PNC boards and on the city councils who are elected. I mean, they're all busy. They have their jobs and so forth, and the staff pretty well does everything. But it all brings all of this sustainability stuff to light, and that's just the way the system works. And the people who sit on the deciding boards, they really, a lot of them don't get it.
But, you know, I've never had anybody call me and say, can I sit down and talk with you? You know, on the planning commission. I've never had a person do that. What I've been able to do, out of the last 20 items on the, that we voted on in the planning and zoning, we have rejected staff recommendations 17 out of the 20 times. So we are aware, and I've kind of educated the younger men on the group that this is, I do not use Agenda 21, by the way, I use the word international.
What's the word?
International code, and I try to make them aware that staff does not walk on water. Only one person does, and that's the one I've got my word to.
I think this group, if more people from this group could get appointed to those boards,
All it takes is put an application in.
to councils and commissioners' courts, for example. I think that's the best that we can do.
The problem is, I'm on a board,
Yep.
and we're begging people to come and listen to what goes on. And we can't get more than 2 or 3 people to show up. And, you know, I'm also a precinct chair, I go door to door, and people go, oh, I didn't know that, and I'm so thankful you came to my door and told me that. I mean, it's such a big job, because people, I think there's a certain amount of apathy, because when we elect officials, we think they're gonna take care of us, but they're not.
They don't know, they don't know any
But
better.
why?
Well, a big
I
part
mean,
of
I
it
would like
still
to know,
is
just like I
media.
can figure it out.
The media covers things up. They won't report it, they won't tell the truth.
Well, there's all.
Let's go in order here.
The community impact newspaper does a very good job of letting people know what's going on. And they're also anxious to hear what you have to say about issues. So, get in contact with them, read their paper.
I would like to point out that it's not just with government things, but all across the board. People are going to public schools, they're not getting an education. The people that have education degrees get the jobs, and they're teaching public schools, elementary, high school, college, and they're clueless and they don't care. And they're training people not to care, and they're not teaching them anything. It's amazing what people don't know. So what was life was like in the past is very different than what it is now for these people, and because the public schools have completely taken over, and because people aren't learning anything. And whenever I meet somebody who is getting an education degree, or as recently, I say, aren't you ashamed of yourself? Why would you do this? I understand in the past doing it, becoming, but now.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I think what I have found is we follow social media, we listen to all the news, whatever, but we don't really go to do research, read a real book, and really
True.
do the kind of research we take for granted because Hannity or whoever, I'm not pointing out, but don't take everything for face value. Go do your research.
Exactly.
I just found out that, we bailed out GM, American Motors. That's going to China. All of our money in that plant's going to China. And 2, about a month ago, I guess it was, people in Georgetown, and I'll raise some eyebrows here maybe, were complaining about the statues and that we had downtown Georgetown. That's part of our history, folks. And they wanted that all removed. This is part of this Agenda 21. They want all of that removed. They don't want us to know our history.
That was a Universalist church.
Melinda, you were gonna say?
I remember.
One of the things that I did when I
knew there were gonna be trouble when they came in the neighborhood.
No, and the first thing out of the house, we got a new neighbor, and I introduced myself, and she said, she says, I don't know anything about politics, that's my husband's, and she's elected, she's got 3 kids to raise, she's a full-time mom. And I said, find someone you trust, let them do your work for you, and then just find out what their suggestions are. Because there's some of us that do the work, we do the research, and encourage them to trust you or someone that's close to them that they can count on, because they're not gonna go do the research.
Right.
You don't have time.
Give him the mic.
I used to think that in order to serve on the school board, maybe you should have an education degree or a PhD or know something about teaching. I don't think I could be further from the truth. I'm beginning to believe that with schools doing such a poor job of educating our kids, a great job of training them how to live, consistent with what you're saying, I'm beginning to believe that people like us ought to be serving on those school boards.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You can't change City Hall, you have to become City Hall.
That's right.
Anybody, please? Back there.
I am no scholar of the Bible, I will be the first to admit that. But in Judaism, they have the Old Testament and you have the Talmud. And the Talmud is the commentary on the Bible. And it's larger than the Bible. So it is a biblical thing to challenge everything.
Exactly right.
Okay.
Yeah.
In support of what Melinda said, we need to find what our hot button is. All those 17 things there, I can't address them all. But I can address one, or I can find somebody to help me address one.
Other questions? Anybody? Well, thank you so much for being here.
I've got one more.
Oh, one more, Gerald.
Sorry. I'm curious about all these settlements that we're going to have eventually. What are they going to do with all these large cities? Are they tearing everything down or what?
Well, if you saw either one of those maps, the areas that are cities are no longer. They're flattened.
So flatten all these cities.
But, okay, so in answer to that question, first of all, in Texas, it's Dallas,
Houston, Austin are the three major areas that you saw. It's real hard to see that map, but there's three, if you could look, the black areas are those three areas. And what they're doing is through regulation, they're getting people off of the farmlands and off the ranches. Now, like 50% of the ranches have been shut down due to regulations in Texas in the last, I don't know how many
In the United States, 54% of all ranches and farms have been shut down because of regulation.
Yeah, so if you don't have your ranch anymore, you know, the next option is, well, where do you move? Or you sell that property, or the government takes it over, whatever. So little by little, they're forcing people in, and if you look at the youth, they love this plan. You put in high rises, or you put in multi-story, 3-4 stories, what's underneath? All retail, commercial. And these things are being built everywhere. And they look like such a wonderful concept, but that's what the concept is. If you look at Austin, that's what you're seeing. They build these big buildings with commercial underneath. So these people don't have to go anywhere, and they love, these young people love this concept. We may not, but little by little, this will be the option, only options available.
And therein lies your solution for population. Once you concentrate them, it only takes a couple of plagues to knock out the competition.
This is a list.
And by the way, they will take away your cars through the, I mean, you give up your cars because it costs so much to run them. You will be relegated pretty much to the center. It's already, that's what happens in China right now. You go into these major cities, they never go to the countryside. They never go anywhere. They stay in the city, and everything is provided for them in that major city.
These are specific targets that the biodiversity assessment list. And if you notice, rangelands, fish ponds, rangelands, plantations, harvesting timber, but where is it, the economic systems that fail to set proper value. There's your open-ended. They can add anything they want to because of that.
They're not feeding the population.
Yeah.
So are the people that are supporting this, and part of it, are they clueless about the overall goal? Or are they so arrogant that they think that they're going to be one of the people that are above it?
If you look at Stalin's comment on useful idiots, he fostered as many of them as he could to get involved and gave them the promise of being the elite. But who did he execute when he took power? The useful idiots. Anyone that could have put him into power could take him out of power. But these people are useful idiots. They do believe. Maurice Strong envisioned, when Agenda 21, after the announcement and everything, they had a breakout session, and he had David Rockefeller and Maurice Strong and Mikhail Gorbachev, and they had 12 other people on the dais, and he said, close your eyes. And so they closed their eyes and says, now, I want you each to get up and give me your definition of what Agenda 21 will do. We had 14 totally different definitions. At the end, Mikhail says, and they're all right. Every one of them are 100% accurate. no rules, regulations.
I foresee another housing catastrophe coming up because the government has now gotten into being a landlord. And they want to get all these low-income people that don't necessarily qualify for a loan, for a mortgage, to buy houses. And then they're not going to be able to afford it, and they're going to have to foreclose, but the government is going to take over those houses and then rent them back. So they're going to become landlords, and probably slum landlords at that.
It's already happening in Dallas.
It's been happening.
Plano is, the police department is overwhelmed. They can't hire enough police in Plano. What was Plano 10 years ago? Probably the richest enclave in Texas. But it was conservative. They're out to destroy all conservative enclaves.
They're gonna send it to us.
Kind of like at the county level just a month ago, property assessed clean energy.
Keep pace. Yeah.
Yep, pace.
You need to understand that, Landy. You were going to ask a whole bunch of questions. You threatened me yesterday. I answered them.
You changed the agenda on me here, yeah. I got this and you changed that.
Well, yeah, that's not the presentation, that's just my agenda.
You did say in this thing here that an NGO Envision Central Texas where members are selected through appointment. Who appoints these people?
The city council, the county government, each appoint one, then the state can appoint up to 3, and then the federal government can add up to 5.
How do they get them out? I mean, do they go in for a term, or what is?
They go in as long as they're at the discretion of the council that appoints them, but the problem here is they are sold, Landy, here's a good, they're sold free money. This is coming from the federal government. You don't have to go and put a bond election up. You don't have to be accountable to anybody for anything, and you get away with a lot. And so the whole the people really love it. I mean, the people on the commission.
Well, this cycle also is being channeled through these nonprofits too.
Yes.
You got city councils, commissioners that are offering grant money to nonprofits to carry out these social programs.
A lot of them are.
And that's our tax dollars.
Religious or affiliated.
Yeah.
You know, Lutheran Relief Society and so forth.
Follow the money.
All right, for those that you don't know, about 5 or 6 years ago, John was the one that brought this to the city council.
Yeah.
It was on the record, and he saw that it got removed. He is our #1 man.
We did get Georgetown out of Italy. Yeah.
All right, so I want to be appointed to Envision Central Texas.
You have to be an elected official on a board, but you're not going to be elected by anybody to go onto the Envision Central Texas, or Campo, or Capcom, or whatever. Here's the problem. When I started this, there were like 42,000 NGOs in the state of Texas. As of a few months ago, there was 173,000 NGOs.
John, I didn't notice we're on one of your slides. Was one of your slides bring out the issue of Council of Governments?
Just briefly, I tried to keep it at under 48 minutes, so that's.
But that's a critical item.
Oh, it is, because when you have public-private partnerships, 254,000 public-private partnerships in Texas. That's incredible growth.
I wanted to comment about Georgetown. We have made progress. When we got here in 2008, George Garver was president, or
I thought he was.
yeah. And he was not running things. Actually, the
City council yielded to the
well, city
staff.
council was extremely liberal, so the mayor, though he can't go in and just change things, he can make appointments, and our current mayor has made several appointments that are very conservative. When he sees that something needs to be done, he knows the people who can affect those changes. So we've seen, and I know that things don't happen suddenly. When Dale Ross got in there, a lot had to change, because he was still living with everything that had been done in two terms under Garver. But we're seeing things change. The city council has changed, it's mostly conservative right now. And we've been watching that. It's really important that you watch your mayor. There's a mayor in, is it Cedar Park, who's just, he's terrible. It's terrible. And so it's important that we put in, and we need to watch, because the mayor can actually cause some.
And
some
Cedar
things
Park
to
is
happen.
getting ready to tax the rainwater that comes off your roof to pay for the Agenda 21 drainage
Right.
initiative.
Right.
And we moved from California because we saw this stuff. We came from a conservative, pretty conservative California to one that was just a third world country and absolutely a socialist country. And we couldn't wait to get out of there. We came here because we wanted some of that conservative back. And it's just really disheartening to watch it going away.
Show you how
Going
bad it
away
can get. In
again.
Kentucky, 9 counties and all the cities in those counties banded together to be called Section 9. And they erased all county and city limits. There's no barriers to anybody doing anything, and it's run by an NGO instead of an elected body.
Where's this?
In
Kentucky.
Kentucky.
We're in Kentucky.
Yes, yeah, but,
Okay, you said that the ICLEI have
ICLEI.
offices, have offices within every state of the United States.
Austin, Texas.
That's the only
No,
office?
there's one in Austin, there's one in every state.
In every state, okay.
There's a state director for ICLEI in every state.
And he's appointed,
She, here,
so she has been appointed.
by the United Nations. Kind of.
Who is
So, getting that ulcer going again.
Who
Where
is
are these
she?
guys funded from?
She.
Most
That's
from
what I
us.
said. Who is she?
United Nations gets 48% of their budget from us.
Yeah, Mayor.
We have I have to say this is ridiculous, but our platform of the state Republican Party is supposed to say, get the United Nations out of the United States, but inadvertently it says, get the United States out of the United States, but it's original, the text should read that. That's one of our platforms. They have voiced a platform plank that they are adamantly against Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030. Whether they know what it is, I don't know. Most of them don't. Yes?
I saw a video on Agenda 21, and it was actually a woman who was from the UN describing what it was going to be like in 2050. I can't get that video back. It was wonderful because it just showed everybody where everybody was going to live in these high rises, and they were going to have the farm. They would be able to have hydroponics and whatever in each building. So that was going to be your food supply. And
Either that or Soylent Green.
And you weren't going to be going out on vacations anymore. It's all going to be through what is it?
Virtual.
Virtual reality.
If you noticed, I didn't say, what did you think that ad really said? You know, that's so obvious. You guys with the gray hair, get out of the way.
That's right. They want us
You're
to
worthless.
die.
You've lived a good life, now let the rest of the world have it.
Well, so to me, it was like a lead up to like euthanasia or something.
That's it.
Yes,
It's
that's
not
exactly
lead up to, it
That's
is.
what it is. Yeah, sure.
Why? Because they can confiscate your property. Yes.
Besides people that
As
are.
a young man, I was
Because
a
we've
mine
got some
worker,
sense.
Yes.
I was a switchman on the railroad.
Young kids,
and
I'll bet you can say this when you talk.
almost everybody liked the Democratic Party because they felt that they really were helping us, and they were
At one time.
at one time. Who took over the Democratic Party and is now, I'd like for you to know, is the main money behind the people that are trying to do
George
America.
Soros.
in-
It's
George
been by the name of
Soros.
George Soros.
Yep.
George Soros is
Yep.
an avowed communist. He
Yep.
has stated unequivocally he hates the United States. And somebody asked me, where did he get his money? Does anybody know?
He stole it from us.
Well, he tried to bankrupt Britain. He got it in the United, got a
Yeah,
lot
but
of
where
money
did
in
he
the
get the money
United
to even start that?
States. But he got it in the United States
He
as
got it
a
out of the mouths of Jews in a death camp. He was a blue shirt.
Yeah.
Oh, they took the gold, and they took the gold out?
He absconded with millions of dollars of gold out of the mouths of his fellow
Oh,
Jews.
geez.
And that's how he started his money.
Oh, Lord, that's what it was.
My son just moved from Texas.
That's what it was.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Thank you.